Welcome to Kyle's Take. Today, I want to talk about the CHAZ Chop Zone in Seattle. That is the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest. What's going on out there specifically with the murder of Horace Lorenzo Grant? I wasn't able to find too many mainstream media sources that were able to interview his father after the passing. Let's take a look at it. And after, I have a second clip of what's happened in the week since that interview. I will warn, this video is kind of heart-wrenching. It does tug at you. So take that for what it is.
I don't even, man, I'm numb. I'm still numb today. I got to bury my son tomorrow, and it's just been a lot going on. And my whole thing is, my whole life is, man, this is incredible. Yeah. And I'm like, I still this day, it's been almost 2 weeks. I haven't heard from nobody. Has nobody called? They still ain't nobody called me or try to find me. And his ID is my ID, so his number is my number. So they can. It's easy to come for the detective and say, "Hey, excuse me, knock on my door. Excuse me, let me tell you what happened about your son, or let me. I don't know nothing." I had to find my son. They wouldn't even let me see my son that night. It took me a whole week before I can see my son.
And then let me just say that
Mr. Anderson,
he's in trauma right now.
Mr. Anderson,
yes.
You weren't allowed to see your son for a week? Please,
they wouldn't let me. I went to the hospital, and they said that we couldn't see him. They just said we couldn't see him. There was now, when I go there, I'm going there. I'm looking for a detective. Somebody tell me something. But when I get there, there's nobody. I mean, the hospital is blank. It's silence. I'm going like, what's going on? So I go ask the lady, and she tells me, hold on. So I wait. I couldn't go in, so I'm waiting for a long time. Then she tells me to come in, and then the doctor tells me, only thing he tells me is my son's deceased. I'm like, well, can I see him? Is it my son? Because you got to realize, at this time I'm going like, is it really my son? I want to know, is it my son? Mm-hmm. Because this could be somebody else's child, But, I'm in my head, I'm going like, yeah, it's mine because everybody's saying this. But in my heart, I'm going like, I need to see him I need to see him one time. So I can see him. I couldn't see him that day. That was Saturday. It took all the way till Thursday. I just seen him just last week. Just Thursday, and they had to, whatever they did to him and make him so they presentable, whatever it was. But I needed, I got to finally see him, and then in my heart, I knew it was my son now. This is my son, because, I wouldn't want nobody else's son. And man, this is incredible. These kids and the kids that passed, what happened the other day, all this on this child. Man, this is incredible. These are kids, man. I'm 50 years old. Man, these are kids, man. They should have been stopped this a long time ago. It's starting to get, excuse me, but it's getting to the point, where, it's getting.
Gotcha.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Anderson. I can only say this as a dad. You want to break Sean Hannity? I'm a pretty tough guy. That will break me. What you've been through.
Somebody that asked for this, and they need to come talk to me, and somebody need to come tell me something, because I still don't know nothing. And somebody need to come to my house and knock on my door and tell me something. That, I don't know nothing. All I know is my son he got killed up there, and he's just a 19-year-old. No, that's Horace Lorenzo Anderson. That's my son, and I loved him, and that was my son.
Got your family. Don't worry about it.
Somebody should have helped my son. He needed help. He needed paramedics. He needed the police to come in. Somebody was supposed to go in there and help my son. I still ain't heard from the mayor. Incredibly, Donald Trump called me. The President of the United States called me today and talked to me today.
What did he say?
He gave his condolences, and me, I'm not a political guy, so I'm not. But I told him, I didn't know nobody like you. I'm real. I said, nobody like you, but on this camera. I tell you right now, Donald Trump called me, and he didn't have to call me. He didn't have to do nothing.
Wow. Like I said, that's, not easy to watch the first video. The second video, we see that, like I said, I've only heard about this instance or any negative things from right-leaning media. No left media has covered this. We heard Jenny Durkin, the mayor of Seattle, actually call it the summer of love. It wasn't a problem for her. The precinct being taken over, 6 blocks of the city being blocked off, borders popping up in the middle of the city, armed people popping up in the middle of the city. She didn't have a problem with any of that. People doing drugs and shooting up and taking over parks, and she didn't have a problem. When did she have a problem? When protesters started making their way to her house. Then within 48 hours, she shut it down. For the first 2 to 3 weeks, she didn't care. Anyway, Black Lives Matter, right? That's the whole reason for this thing. But 2 black men have been shot and killed. One black boy, one was 16, one of the ones that passed, that's still a boy. Another one's in ICU. He's 14. That's a boy. He's fighting for his life right now because of this, but Black Lives Matter. And let's go around the country. We can name black people that have been killed. David Dorn, young lady out in Davenport, Iowa. I mean, there's stories out there. And maybe I might do a video on that. It's just crazy that it took this long for them to shut it down. And in all this time, the mayor hasn't even reached out to this man and told him what has happened to his son. They have not given him any answers. The only person that has extended a hand out to this man politically wise is President Donald Trump. Great job to President Trump for reaching out to the family on behalf of the city. At least they had some type of support. I hope that this man and his family get all the answers that they deserve. For people to be getting shot and killed, and there's been a number of other crimes that have taken place in this zone. There's been extortion, assaults, rapes, robbery. There's been a plethora of things. Do you think that these are peaceful protests? Do you think that whatever happened in there is gonna make some sort of leeway in terms of legislation? These are a bunch of thugs or Antifa people or violent people that have taken over, and there is no regard for black people. There is no regard for black lives. It's been all infiltrated. The quicker that people understand that, the faster that we can start eradicating this problem. At this point, we have 2 black people killed, a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old fighting for his life. So what's your take on it all? Do you think that these are all peaceful people that are just protesting and practicing their First Amendment right? Or do you think that this violence has gotten a little out of hand, and in places like Seattle, DC, New York, we're seeing all of these places popping up? If we pay attention, we can see what's really going on. It's just a matter of time before it's more like the book, The Lord of the Flies. Everyone is just fighting for power with no type of organization. But that's all for now. So leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your take on it all. Good job to President Donald Trump for reaching out. Makes me proud to wear this hat.